welcome to my channel. My name's Faye, I am the Chronic Crafter and I'm an independent Stampin' Up demonstrator based in the UK. One of my goals for this year was to do more scrapbooking. It's something that I've always wanted to spend time doing but never quite found the time. So this year I have decided to do a month-to-month scrapbook, but to try and keep it simple, rather than doing big 12 by 12 pages, I will be doing 6 by 8 layouts. So the two products that I'll be using for my scrapbook for 2026 is this, it doesn't have a label on it, this lovely 6 by 8 album from Stampin' Up. It's got the black spine, it's got a little label along there, and then it's got sort of the craft wooden cardboard coloured cover, but it's not cardboard, it's quite thick, it's just got that look. However, I thought that's going to look gorgeous covered in some designer series paper. And I've then got the coordinating variety pack 6 by 8 inches photo pocket pages. So these variety pack, they're all a bit different, each of the inserts. So I will show you now. And I thought what I would aim to do is one of these for each month. So I can still document 2026. But as you can see, we've got some that are split into 4 pockets. Let's see what else we've got. So we've got 3 that are 4 pockets. We've got some that are 3 pockets. So we've got, I think that's going to be 6 by 4, and then 2 of the 3 by 4 there'll be. So it looks like we've got quite a few of those. So I'll be doing lots of layouts of those. And then we've got some that are 2 6 by 4 pockets. And then we have one that is a full 6 by 8 pocket. So lots of options to choose from there. I'm not sure how many are actually in this pack. I'll just have a quick count now. Right, there's 12 pockets. So that will completely cover me for this year. I wasn't sure if I'd need to purchase an extra pack. So I think I'll definitely stick with doing one of these for each month. Of course, if you find that you enjoy scrapbooking, there's nothing to say you can't do 2 or 3. I'm really bad at taking photos, I'll be honest, and I think that's why I struggle when it comes to scrapbooking. So for January, I wanted to do a nice sort of opening page. So I think I'm going to go with the one that's 6 by 4 and then 2 3 by 4 pockets. And I'm going to put the rest of these away. So we are already in February, so I am a little bit behind on doing this, but better late than never. So I'm going to open up the album now. So it's still in its packaging. I bought it in December, knowing that I wanted to do this. I haven't actually unboxed it. So that's really nice. The black spine, I didn't realise it's actually a beautiful fabric. It's not paper, it's fabric. So that's nice. Here we go. Ooh, look at that. Love a bit of shiny foil embossing there. So that's my album. And then these will just clip in like that. So I reckon you could definitely fit more than 12 in there. I'm pretty confident of that. But we'll see as the year goes on, we'll find out together. So I'm going to pop this just over here to remind me what I'm sort of working on. In terms of paper, you could use what's in your stash, or you could take it as an opportunity to purchase some of the new stuff. So what I've got here, which I think is going to work for February, let me just check the name. This is the Love Notes 6 by 6 mix and match designer series paper, and you're going to see why I like this. So I've pulled out these sheets in particular, but I did this before I kind of knew what I was doing. So what is fabulous about this is it's already got on each piece places where you can cut. So something like that could go in there very nicely. So this piece cuts out as well, and then I've chosen one that's just a full pattern because I thought I could chop that up and use it as a background. So the other side of that is love hearts. The other side of this, it's got gorgeous flowers with love hearts. So again, I think this has been designed around Valentine's Day, but you can definitely use it for non-Valentine's Day. So some of these will be great in February. That's really nice as well. But my 4x6, I suppose it's 6x4 inch pocket, is horizontal. So something like that probably I feel would look a bit odd, but that's just me. But this one could look absolutely great. And I wanted to do a sort of welcome to January type thing, or welcome to 2026 even. So I'm going to use that piece. And from here, it's just a question of deciding what you want to do. The other paper that I've picked out is, I think this one is called Easter Joy, and this is Designer Series Speciality paper. And it's a little bit thicker and it's got some foiling on there. So I thought that these scenes are really cute. And again, the clouds have got some silver foil, which might be tricky to see on camera, but they're lovely and they're glossy. And I thought definitely for Easter, which I think is in April this year, I'm going to use these. But this is quite a versatile, bright background. There's just so many pretty papers to choose from. It was really hard, and I tried to narrow it down before I sat down to film this video. I tried to say to myself, pick out 3 or 4 pieces from each pack that I'm going to want to use, because I do want my colours to coordinate. So in terms of photos, I do have a couple of photo printers that I have purchased over the years. Unfortunately, I've not been organised and I haven't charged up my sprocket before filming this video. So you will just have to imagine that I am adding little photos as we go. So what I do have is, if you've got a sprocket, you'll be familiar with these little blue cards. These go into the printer. So I do have these, which I will use to help myself line up what I'm going to do as we go. So first piece, I'm definitely going to use this bit here. So I'm just going to get my paper trimmer. Don't even have to think about the measurements for this, which is glorious. Just going to line that up along where the 2 pieces change. Oh, obviously trying not to slide it out of place as I put. Might be better to go this way around actually. Straighter cut. Put that down. So there we go. That is our first piece. Super easy. And this is what I need, because I do want to record my memories for 2026. And sometimes it can just get a little bit too much. So that fits quite nicely in there. There is a little bit extra. So I don't think the pocket is quite 6x4. Then we've got 2 pockets that are about 3x4 inches. So definitely want to include some photos. So what I'm going to do for these is chop up one of these pieces, I think. I'm going to go with this purple. This is Gorgeous Grape. It's one of my favourite Stampin' Up colours. And I'm going to cut my pieces to 3x4 inches and see how that turns out. So one of the reasons I absolutely love the Stampin' Up paper trimmer is that it has measurements in centimetres and inches. I'm in the UK, we mainly use centimetres, but I find a lot of tutorials are from ladies in America, and they're great tutorials, so sometimes I want to work in inches, even if I'm used to working in centimetres. And when you're scrapbooking, you often work in inches as well. Oh, that's so pretty. I love that. So this pocket, it's 3 inches across I did, and I did 4 inches, but it looks like it's a little bit taller. But you can't tell, and I think, you know, it's not too bad. It doesn't look out of place. And I think this piece is pretty much the same size. Let's have a look. Oh, look at that. See, that has taken, what, 2 minutes? And we already have the beginnings of my first scrapbook piece. So what I am going to do is I'm going to have 2 photos like that. So I'll just put my blue cards there so you can imagine. And the sprocket paper is sticky, so I won't have to worry about adhesive. So 2 gorgeous photos there. And what I want to do here is some sort of welcome to 2026. Now my handwriting is appalling, so I'll probably either use some letter dies or I will print a photo. I like to play Animal Crossing, And on New Year's Eve, I was on my Nintendo Switch and I was celebrating with all my Animal Crossing villagers, and I took a photo of that. So I think that is going to go pride of place in here. Now, in terms of journaling, it's entirely up to you if you just want to do scrapbook images or if you want to do some journaling as well. I did want to add some things on the back here. I want to be careful that I'm not doing too much bulk, but actually I could add extra images on there. That would go nicely, and I could put some scrapbooking along here. So I've just got to decide which pieces I want to use, really. And do I want to cover this entirely? So I could go with another 6x4 inch piece to slot in the back there. Oh, don't mind me, very busy desk. Too much on this desk. So I'm just going to have a look in my drawer and see what other pieces of paper I've got. One of the reasons I really like the Stampin' Up paper is that it tells you on the back of each pack of designer series paper what colours are used within that pack. So I've just been looking at the sheet that came with this set and considering what colours to use. So one of the shades that this pack uses is Gorgeous Grape, which is one of my favourite colours. Really deep, dark purple. I love it. In terms of journaling, Gorgeous Grape is probably going to be a bit dark to write on. So I have picked out the Highland Heather cardstock, which I think is going to go nicely. And I do plan on doing some stamping, and I think the darker purple onto the paler purple will work really well. So that's going to be my piece, and I am going to make it a whole piece just because I'm not particularly keen on this, and that's all right. That's the nice thing about doing your own scrapbook, is you can do your own thing. So I'm going to cut this to 4 inches. Just going to go over twice because it is a bit thicker, this cardstock, and my blade is getting a bit old. And then 6 inches here. Absolutely fantastic, this trimmer. I was really reluctant to buy it at first, and I don't know why, but it's really lightweight and does a really good job when I'm filming my videos. So I'm just going to pop that in there, and I think that goes really nice with the Flirty Flamingo as well. Oh, look at that. I'm going to trim this one down purely because it is bothering me. So I'm just going to trim a little bit off each end so that I can make it 4 inches exactly. But that is completely personal preference, and of course I could have measured the purple to make that the same size. There we go. So that was a bit taller than 4 inches, so that's why that looked a bit different. So if I pop that back in there, there we go. So I'm just going to move my trimmer over to the side. So we're going to have 4 photos on this layout. And then this is going to be my welcome to 2026. And then I'm probably going to do a bit of stamping and a bit of journaling. I could put a photo on there. Can't decide. I have picked out some photos from January, but I didn't do anything in January, which makes this hard. I was tired, it was cold, so you've got to respect that. It's January, no one does anything in January. So I could put a photo, but I'm not sure if I have a 5th photo. If not, I could do some journaling, but I am going to do some stamping. In terms of stamp sets, again, so many to choose from. This is the Fabulous Sayings stamp set. This was the January product of the month. I think these were primarily designed for cards, but they could go great for scrapbooking. This You Can Do Anything, that could be nice along there. You can really, really personalise this, and that's one of the reasons I like it so much. I think some of these might be available still, but because it was the January product of the month, once they've gone, they've gone. If you're not familiar with the product of the month, it's a new offering from Stampin' Up, where if you spend £70 in the UK on a single order, you can purchase the product of the month for £5. This month, February, it's a pack of beautiful designer series paper, 12x12 size, I believe. And then for January, it was the stamp set. So I'm thinking of using this You Can Do Anything So I'm just going to line that up. See, I think that would look nice like that, and then perhaps could have a photo, and then that stamp underneath, and then I've got room for a little bit of journaling, but not too much because I hate my handwriting. So let's take our Highland Heather piece out. So this is stamp block D, and I'm really hoping this stamp will fit. So I'm just gonna, it does. So I'm lining it up on my stamp block diagonally, although that might have fitted horizontally, but I've gone for the diagonal, and then I'm gonna stick it, I think I said I was gonna stick it there. So sometimes when you get new stamps, they can be quite sticky. I do find that the Stampin' Up ones are pretty good to go straight away, whereas some photopolymer stamps you have to do what's called priming the stamp. Because I'm sort of in that habit, with these ones, when they're new, I just like to use my grid paper just to test if there's any spots where the ink wouldn't come out properly. But as you can see, that's come out perfectly. So the Stampin' Up stamps don't have the residue that I've seen on other photopolymer stamps. So I'm going to leave my blue card there just to help me roughly line up where this is going, and then I'm going to stamp that on there. Oh no, look what I've done. Let's see if this can look all right. So I've just caught the edge of my stamp. I never do that, but we'll see how that turns out. So that's okay, but remember, we always have the other side of the cardstock because this is going against this, so nobody's going to see the back. So I'm just going to go and try again, and then I can choose which one the better side is. I don't normally do that, typical. Right, let's try again. Ah, look at that, that's perfect. So I love how that gorgeous grape shows on the Highland Heather. I think that's really nice. Bring it a bit close to the camera for you. So I'm pleased with that. And then that will tuck in front of that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go away, hopefully print my photos, and then I'll come back and do the final assembly. Hello, so I am back, and I'm really hoping that my photo printer isn't going to be too noisy in the background, but I have managed to get it to work. I have also been to my die cutting machine and used the mini alphabet dies. And I've brought the plate through here so that they didn't go everywhere because my die cutting machine is currently in another room. So this is one singular die that cuts out all of these lovely letters. Very satisfying. So I want to write the word welcome. So I'm just going to get all of those and pop them out and line them up on my grid paper. This is one of the reasons I love the grid paper, is that I wanted to be able to line up these letters, and it means that you can keep them nice and straight and line them up beautifully. Look, I said I didn't want them to go everywhere. They're going everywhere. Just going to pop the rest of these out so that they don't completely fly all over the place. So this is just alphabet letters. There's no numbers in this set. So I need an O, the M, and what I do like about it is there isn't just one of each letter. Stampin' Up have thought about it, and there are 2 letter E's, 2 letter A's, 2 letter O's, so you only have to cut once normally. You don't need to cut multiple times. So I think it's just off camera, but I've just been popping out my welcome. Just going to take my piece out, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use the grid to line up each of these letters. So I have cut these out again in the Highland Heather cardstock because I felt it went so well with the gorgeous grape. So I'm just lining these up as best I can. pop the middle out from my O. So of course it doesn't have to be perfect, but I do want them to be reasonably straight. There we go. And I've just got some low tack tape here, which looks like it's a new roll. So any washi tape would work for this, but if you are using washi tape, sometimes it can be quite sticky. So I would recommend sort of patting it against your leg or something beforehand. So what I do is I use the grid paper to line up my letters and make sure that I'm happy with those. And then I take my tape and stick it across the top of my letters. So I'm picking them up like this, all in a row. And then I can pop them down where I want them to go. And then I get my glue and I essentially lift up letter by letter to stick them down. And they should stay stuck to the tape, just like this. And then I can go in with my wet glue and pop them down. And then I'll peel the tape completely off from that letter, peel up the next letter, and so on. There we go. That has saved my terrible handwriting from doing too much of the heavy lifting here. So I do want to write 2026 across here, which I'm probably going to have to do in pen, but those letters have come out nice and straight, looking really neat. I have my photos here. I have managed to print out 5 photos of various memories from January. I'm not going to show you one because it does show the outside of my house, so I'm not going to do that. So you can pretend that this is one. It was a picture of the snow that we had. I then have my cross stitching, my Nintendo Switch on New Year's Eve, which isn't a great photo, but the memory is there. Picture of me with the first card I made this year. And I actually made this graphic for Instagram. So it looks a bit washed out because I lowered the transparency on the background for Instagram. And I just thought that it would be really nice. Start here is a nice way to say January 2026. So I wonder if I should say January across there. Oh, I'm going to see what letters I've got. See what we've got left. Rather than handwriting 2026, I will do anything to avoid handwriting. So with this die as well, I keep a little bag of the letters that I have cut out, because you could definitely mix and match the colours. A. Ah, look at that. Uses different letters to welcome. So I'm going to go with welcome January because then I don't have to handwrite. So I'm just going to do exactly what I did with the welcome, line the letters up and glue them down. There we go. So I'm really pleased with how that has turned out. So I think that filled the space nicely without me having to do any handwriting. So I'm going to slide that in there now. And then I've got my 2 pieces. So definitely want my start here to be on the first page, and I'm just going to put these in the centre. So nothing special going on there. So there are absolutely loads of different ways that you can print photos for your scrapbooking. I am going to stick this on the front page. I know it's not the most glamorous photo, but it is the first thing that happened. So yeah, in terms of printing photos, I have a little sprocket printer which prints photos that are this size. Does it say what they are? I think they're 2 by 3 inches, I want to say. and they're on sticky paper. I also have a Canon Selfie, I think that's what it's called, and that prints 6x4 photos. And then I often use a website called Free Prints as well, which I think they're really good, and they do 6x4 photos, so the photos are free. I think it's 45 photos you can have for free each month, and they only ask you to pay for the postage, so that's very nice. So there we go. I think this one in particular, I love this, if you can see this on camera, because the card that I made there uses similar colours. So it is quite washed out, the printing from the sprocket, but it could be because the paper's quite old, and obviously this one didn't quite fit. But it's a homemade scrapbook, it doesn't need to be perfect. So I'm going to pop that into there, and then pop that one. You know what, I might flip that round. I know I said I'd have the switch photo on the front, but I'm going to flip it round because I really like that moving cross stitch. So pop that into there, and then we've got a little bit of each of the colours on each page. And then with regards to this one, I'm going to pop that in there. I don't want to share that photo because, as I mentioned earlier, it shows the outside of my house, and I'm going to do my journaling along here. But just to show you what this will look like when finished, I'm going to pop that into there, and there we go. That is my super simple January scrapbook page for my 2026 album, and that will go beautifully into my 6x8 album from Stampin' Up. So I hope that you've enjoyed watching this video. I'd really like it if you could give me a like and consider subscribing to my channel. I'll pop some links in the description of the products that I've used making this layout, and I hope you come and watch my videos again soon. Thanks for watching. Bye!